The junkyard smelled like burned wires and old oil. Jace walked slowly, his boots sinking into the dusty ground. He had only 1 credit left, barely $1. Most sellers ignored him, thinking he was just another broke human salvager. But he was used to being ignored. He had lost his job 2 years ago after a shipwreck. Now he searched space junkyards, hoping to find something valuable in the trash. Just one lucky find. And maybe he could eat more than protein paste this week. Then he saw it. A big rusty space container sat at the far end of the yard. It was covered in chains and warning stickers. The red paint had faded, and strange alien symbols were scratched on the side. One tag caught his eye. It read, "Do not open." Jace raised an eyebrow whenever something said don't. It usually meant something interesting. He walked over to it, brushing off dust with his hand. An old alien junk dealer leaned against a post nearby. "Watching. You don't want that one," the dealer said in a low voice. "Been here 50 years. Nobody ever opens it. They say it's cursed." Jace smirked. "How much?" The alien laughed, showing sharp yellow teeth. "You want it? Take it for 1 credit, boy." 1 credit? What's wrong with it? Jace asked. "Dead weight," the alien replied. "Too heavy to move, too strange to sell." Jace shrugged. He had nothing to lose. "Deal," he said, and tapped his old wrist scanner to pay. The container beeped softly and unlocked with a hiss. Jace backed away as the chains dropped to the ground. The door creaked open slowly, the metal groaning like an old beast waking up. A cold mist poured out, chilling the air. Inside, it was dark but not empty. Rows of glowing tubes lined the walls. Each tube held something or someone. Jace stepped closer. Eyes wide, they were women, alien women, each inside a cryopod. Eyes closed, floating in blue liquid. Their skin was all different shades: silver, green, purple, even crystal-like. Some had pointed ears, some had markings like stars on their faces. They looked peaceful, like they were dreaming. Jace counted. There were 12 of them. His heart raced. He had just bought a container full of sleeping alien beauties for 1 credit. What the hell? He whispered. He stepped closer to one of the pods. A small blinking light turned from red to green, and suddenly, a soft beep echoed through the container. One of the pods hissed. The glass surface cleared up. The alien girl inside moved her fingers. Then her eyes opened, bright silver eyes that stared straight at Jace. Jace froze. She blinked slowly, looking confused. Her lips moved as she whispered something. "Run! He is coming." "What? Who's coming?" Jace asked, stepping back. But she didn't answer. She closed her eyes again, breathing fast. Another beep came from the pod next to hers. "Wait, are they all waking up?" Jace muttered. He looked around nervously. The junkyard was still quiet outside, but something didn't feel right. He tapped his communicator, calling his small cargo ship parked outside the gate. "Ship, prep for quick departure," he said. "Destination?" The ship's AI replied. "Anywhere that isn't here," Jace said, still staring at the pods. Suddenly, he felt a slight tremor in the ground. A sensor light on his wrist scanner blinked red. "Unknown scan detected," the AI said. "Something's locking onto your ship," Jace cursed under his breath. He didn't know who these girls were. He didn't know why they were hidden in a forgotten container. But one thing was clear: someone else knew now, and they were already coming. Jace looked at the alien girl whose eyes had opened. Her silver eyes met his again. "Please, don't leave us," she whispered faintly. Jace took a deep breath. He turned around, ran out of the container, and shouted to the alien dealer. "Delivery's done, right? It's mine?" The dealer laughed again. "All yours, human. Good luck." Jace rushed to the control panel, activated the magnetic tow, and pulled the container toward his ship. As the container locked into place beneath his cargo hold, Jace jumped into the pilot's seat. His heart was still racing, his hands shaking slightly. 12 alien girls in cryosleep were now his responsibility. and someone powerful was already tracking them. He didn't buy junk, he bought trouble, beautiful, mysterious, breathing trouble. And it had just begun. A cold whisper brushed against Jace's ear. But no one was there. He sat in his pilot seat, staring out into the black void of space. The container was locked tightly beneath the ship, but his heart wasn't calm. His hands rested near the controls, just in case he needed to run again. Behind him, a soft sound echoed a hiss, followed by something gentle and wet. He turned. Slowly, quietly, the door to the cargo hold was closed, but something had opened it from the inside. He grabbed the small plasma cutter near his chair and moved carefully down the hallway. The lights flickered as he walked, his boots echoed softly. Against the metal floor, another hiss came, then a faint voice, no words, just breath and fear. He reached the cargo bay and froze. One of the cryopods had opened, the glass was lifted, steam floating around it like a ghost. Inside, the silver-eyed alien girl sat up, her skin glowing softly in the dark. She was shivering, one hand pressed against her chest, the other reaching out blindly. Jace stepped forward, unsure what to say. Her head snapped in his direction, her silver eyes glowing like moons. "You're real," she said softly, her voice strange but clear. Jace nodded slowly, lowering his cutter. "You're awake," he said, his voice dry. The girl looked around, confused and scared. "Where are the others?" she asked. "They're still sleeping," Jace answered. "Who are you?" She didn't reply right away. Instead, she slid out of the pod, her bare feet touching the cold floor. Her legs wobbled, and she nearly fell, but Jace caught her. She looked up at him with those silver eyes and whispered, "You shouldn't have found us." Jace frowned. "Why? What's going on?" She pulled away from his arms and moved toward the other pods. One by one, she checked each of them, whispering something in a language Jace didn't understand. Then she turned back to him and said, "They'll come for us now. Who will?" Jace asked, already guessing the answer. She walked past him, stepping carefully like a newborn deer. "I don't remember everything," she said, "but I remember the pain and the fire and the silence that followed." Jace followed her. "You were in there for years. Maybe decades." She turned, her silver hair floating gently around her shoulders. "If we stayed hidden, the galaxy would be safe," she said. "Now it won't be." Suddenly the ship shook, just once but hard. Jace stumbled and grabbed the wall. "Impact?" The AIS voice came over the intercom. "Captain, we are being scanned by an unknown ship." Jace rushed to the bridge and checked the sensors. A small stealth-class vessel hovered in their shadow, completely silent. No ID, no signal, no lights, just a predator waiting. "Why are they scanning us?" Jace asked aloud. "They found your signal when you opened the container," the girl said from behind him. "You woke us up and the hunters felt it." Jace turned to her. "Are you royalty? Weapons? Criminals?" She gave him a tired look. "Does it matter? They'll kill us anyway." Another pod beeped softly behind her. Another girl was waking up. The silver-eyed one ran back, trying to stop it. "No, not yet. She's not ready. Too late." The pod opened with a rush of steam. Inside was a girl with sapphire skin and glowing marks across her cheeks. Her eyes opened, fierce and wild. She grabbed Jace by the collar and pulled him close. "Where's the fight?" she growled, her voice like thunder. Jace barely held back a yelp. The silver-eyed girl placed a calming hand on her shoulder. "No fight, sister, not yet." The blue one looked around, saw the ship, saw Jace, then stepped back in confusion. "I thought we were dead," she muttered. "You were," Jace said. "I brought you back." The blue girl stared at him, and then surprisingly she smiled. "Then you're either our savior, or the unluckiest man in the galaxy." The ship trembled again, louder this time. The AI's voice returned. "Enemy ship powering weapons." Jace didn't wait. He jumped to the controls and activated the emergency jump drive. The ship groaned, engines screaming as it pulled away from the shadow vessel. They escaped just as a red beam sliced through. The space where they had been. Breathing hard, Jace leaned back in his chair. He turned to the two alien girls behind him. You want to tell me what kind of war one just stepped into? The silver-eyed girl sat beside him and looked into the stars. We weren't meant to wake up, she said. But now that we have, there's no going back. And somewhere far behind them, the hunter ship vanished into the dark. But it wouldn't be the last time they saw it, not even close. The bounty alert came with a soft chime, but what it said made Jace freeze. He had only tapped into the galactic net for a second, hoping to find fuel prices. Instead, a face popped up on the screen, a silver-eyed alien girl with glowing hair. Reward, 12 million credits, alive or dead. His breath caught in his throat. He turned slowly to look behind him, where she stood silently near the bridge window. She stared out into space, unaware that her own face now blinked red across the galaxy's most wanted list. Jace quickly shut the terminal, his fingers trembling. 12 million. That was enough to buy a planet. Enough to disappear forever. But it was also the price of betrayal. The blue-skinned girl entered the bridge next, rubbing her temples. Another nightmare. She muttered, then stopped when she saw Jace's face. He looked pale, sweating slightly. You okay, human? She asked, frowning. Yeah. He lied, forcing a small smile. I'm fine, just tired. But his mind raced. Why were these girls worth so much? The silver-eyed one turned and walked toward him. She moved with calm grace, but her eyes were sharp. You saw something, she said. Jace hesitated, then nodded. Your face on the net. Her gaze didn't change, but the blue girl growled. Lo, so they finally posted us, she muttered. Took them long enough. You're wanted. Jace said. Big reward. The silver-eyed one nodded. We knew this would happen. You going to turn us in? The blue girl asked coldly. Jace looked between them and shook his head. If I wanted credits, I wouldn't have pulled that container onto my ship. The silver-eyed girl smiled faintly. Then maybe there's hope for you yet. They moved to the back room where the other pods still rested. 10 girls still slept, locked in frozen dreams. Jace stood in silence as the blue girl checked the systems. Their life signs are stable, she said, but we need to wake them slowly. Where were you all going before being frozen? Jace asked. The silver-eyed girl didn't answer right away. Then she said softly, we were trying to stop something. What? Jace asked. A war? No, she said. Something worse than war. Before he could press further, a soft alarm sounded from the cockpit. Jace rushed forward, checking the scanner. A ship had entered their trail, small, fast, and unregistered. He called out, We've got company. The blue girl cursed and ran to the gun station. Same class as the last one? She asked. No, Jace said. This one's different, faster, but not cloaked. The silver-eyed girl placed her hand gently on the console. The ship's lights flickered, and then a strange hum passed through the floor. Jace stared at her. What did you just do? I asked the ship to help us, she replied calmly. The ship trembled slightly, then powered down. Everything went dark. Why'd it shut off? Jace asked in panic. They can't lock onto us if they think we're dead, she whispered. The enemy ship hovered outside, scanning. Jace and the two girls waited in total silence. He could hear his own heartbeat, loud and fast. The blue girl stood ready at the guns, breathing hard. Minutes passed like hours. Then, finally, the enemy ship moved away. Jace exhaled slowly, relief flooding through his chest. We can't keep running forever, he said. No, the silver-eyed girl agreed. We need answers and allies. There's an old station nearby, Jace said. Dead zone, forgotten by most. Then that's where we'll go, she said. But stay quiet. Why? Jace asked. Because others are watching, she said. And not all of them are hunters. Jace looked back at the remaining cryopods. Something about all this felt too big for him. But he had already passed the point of no return, and deep inside one of the pods, a girl stirred in her sleep. Her eyes moved beneath her lids. her fingers twitching. She was dreaming of fire and of the man who would one day save her. Whether he knew it yet or not. Asterisk, the ship was not supposed to bleed. But red light poured from the control panel like it was wounded. Jace slammed his fist against the console, shouting at the AI, "What just hit us?" "Micro-missiles," the AI replied calmly. "Hull breach sealed, but not for long." The ship jolted again, metal groaning like it was screaming, outside. The stars twisted as the ship spun in orbit around a dense asteroid field. Jace looked up and saw one of the girls blue-skinned and fear-strapped into the co-pilot seat. "I told you they'd follow," she growled, gripping the flight controls. "We need cover," Jace said, "or they'll punch holes through us." "I'll get us through," she said, "but you'd better hold on." Then she pushed the controls forward, and the ship dove straight into the rocks. The asteroid field was massive, spinning like a graveyard of broken planets. Chunks of stone the size of houses floated everywhere. Jace's ship twisted and turned through the maze, dodging by inches. Behind them, the enemy vessel followed fast and hungry. Back in the cargo hold, the silver-eyed girl knelt beside a glowing pod. The one inside it was stirring, a soft alarm blinking red. "She's waking up too fast," she whispered, her hand pressed to the glass. "Please stay calm," she said gently. "It's not time yet." But the girl inside did not listen. Her fingers clawed at the pod, her breathing rapid. Then, with a loud hiss, the pod burst open. Steam flooded the room, and a tall, golden-skinned woman stepped out, eyes glowing like fire. "Where am I?" she demanded, her voice booming across the bay. "You're safe," the silver-eyed girl replied. Standing calmly, the golden one looked around, confused and angry. "I remember dying," she said. "How am I standing now?" "Because someone found us," the silver-eyed girl said. "A human." The golden warrior narrowed her eyes. "Human?" She stepped toward the cockpit, her bare feet thudding softly on the floor. Jace turned as she entered, blinking at the "New stranger, you woke me?" She asked him directly. Jace raised his hands, unsure how to answer. "I opened a container," he said. "You were inside." She studied him with intense eyes. "You're smaller than I imagined," she said. Coldly, Jace raised an eyebrow. "You're taller than I expected." For a moment, the two just stared at each other. Then the ship shook again. This time hard enough to knock Jace into the console. "They're getting closer." The blue-skinned girl shouted, "They want us dead." The golden one turned toward the window, eyes narrowing. "I can help," she said. "Let me on the gun. You know how to use human weapons?" Jace asked, confused. She smiled for the first time. "I designed better ones before you were born." The golden girl climbed into the gunnery seat, fingers flying across controls like she'd done it all her life. Outside, the enemy ship came into view, diving between asteroids, weapons glowing. "Brace," the AI warned. The enemy fired twin missiles launched forward, aimed at Jace's engines. But the golden-skinned girl didn't wait. She pressed the trigger, and two plasma bolts exploded from the ship's rear turret. The missiles vanished in fire. "Yes," she growled, eyes flashing. She spun the turret and fired again, this time hitting the enemy's side wing. Smoke burst from the vessel, and it slowed just slightly. "Now," the silver-eyed girl said, appearing behind Jace. "We have to run while we can," Jace nodded, pulling the ship upward, out of the asteroid cloud. The stars opened up ahead like a window of hope. Behind them, the hunter ship limped back into the shadows, not defeated, but wounded. They had escaped again. But it was too close, too dangerous. The golden warrior turned toward Jace and said, "They'll send more, I figured," Jace said, wiping sweat from his brow. "They won't stop until we're all dead," the blue girl added. Jace looked at the three alien women now awake on his ship, each one dangerous, beautiful, and hunted. And in that moment, he realized something. He wasn't running from trouble anymore. He was in the middle of it, and the galaxy was watching, somewhere. Out there, others were waking up too. others who remembered the same war, and they would either fight with him or burn everything down. The golden-skinned girl stood in silence, staring at the stars as if waiting for something to answer her. Jace noticed the way her body tensed, like a soldier hearing distant drums. She hadn't spoken in over an hour, not since the battle. Then, suddenly she said, "He knows we're awake." Jace blinked, unsure who he was. But the silver-eyed girl looked up sharply from the table and replied, "He felt it." The blue-skinned warrior growled under her breath. "Then it begins again." She muttered, "The hunt." Jace was tired of guessing. "Who exactly are you people?" he asked, leaning forward. "Every time I think I'm just helping a few lost girls. You say things like that." The ship was quiet for a moment. Then the silver-eyed one walked to the center of the room and placed her hand over her chest. "We were made," she said softly. "Built, not born." "By who?" Jace asked. "By the ones who ruled the stars before your kind reached fire," she replied. Jace's mouth went dry. "You're not just from some alien planet," he said slowly. "You're ancient tech," she nodded. "Living weapons. Created to stop a war that could have torn galaxies apart," the golden-skinned one added. "But they turned on us in the end. We were too strong," the blue one said. "Too different. So they locked us away," the silver-eyed girl finished, "and erased us from history." Jace took a step back, staring at the cryopods, still glowing faintly in the dark. There were 9 more girls asleep in there, 9 more secrets, 9 more pieces of a forgotten war. "But if you were so dangerous," he asked slowly, "why didn't they just destroy you?" "They couldn't," the golden one said with pride. "We were bonded to something beyond matter," the silver-eyed girl said. "Something they feared but couldn't kill." Jace looked out the window, where stars blinked quietly like watching eyes. "And now you're free again," he whispered. The silver-eyed girl stepped closer, her voice softer now, "but not complete," she said. "We are still scattered. Others like you?" Jace asked. She nodded. "If even one more wakes up before we find her, he will find her first." "Who's he?" Jace asked again. They all looked at one another, and for the first time, even the fierce ones looked afraid. "He has no name," the blue girl whispered. "They call him the Collector," the golden one said bitterly. "He wants us," the silver-eyed girl said. "Not to kill, but to use." A sudden beep broke the tension. Jace turned and checked the signal. It came from a nearby moon, an emergency beacon, barely alive. "Someone's in trouble," he said. "The signal is coded." "Ancient." They all looked up instantly. "Can you land us there?" the silver-eyed girl asked. Jace nodded. "Barely, the moon's in rough shape." "Then go," she said, her voice now urgent. "It might be one of us." The ship changed direction, gliding through broken space and orbiting down toward the forgotten moon. The surface was cracked and dark, like a planet that had cried itself dry. And in the center, a lonely tower stood half buried in dust. The signal pulsed from inside it like a heartbeat. They landed quietly. Jace grabbed his small blaster, even though he knew it was probably useless. The 3 girls followed him out, silent and alert. Each step kicked up ancient ash. Inside the tower, it was colder than ice. Cracked walls and broken machines lined the halls. And then they saw her floating inside a containment field. A girl with black wings curled around her body, her face pale as snow. "She's not dead," the silver-eyed girl said, stepping closer. "She's dreaming," the golden one added, her voice reverent. "Can we wake her?" Jace asked. They didn't answer because something behind them moved. The shadows shifted. A voice like a whisper across glass filled the air. "So you found her first," it said. The girls turned fast, eyes glowing. From the dark stepped a tall figure wrapped in armor made of shadows, the Collector, and this time Jace saw him with his own eyes. And he understood why even weapons were afraid. The shadows moved like smoke with a mind of their own. Jace couldn't see the Collector's face, only the shimmer of armor that absorbed the light. The alien girl stood in front of him, shielding the sleeping winged one behind their backs, but even they weren't breathing now. The collector didn't rush. He stepped slowly across the cracked floor, boots silent. A voice echoed from him, not from a mouth, but from inside every wall. "You stole what belongs to me," he said calmly. Like someone discussing weather, the silver-eyed girl raised her hand, and her skin flickered with light. "She doesn't belong to you," she said. "She was never yours." The golden-skinned one growled, her fists clenched tight. The collector tilted his head. "They all belong to the old world," he replied, "and I am all that remains of it." Jace reached slowly for his blaster, but the collector didn't even look at him. "Put that down," the voice whispered. "You're a fly in this room." The blue-skinned girl didn't wait. She charged with a shout, her body glowing with kinetic force. She struck the collector with full strength. The impact echoed through the tower, dust raining from the ceiling. But when the smoke cleared, he was still standing. Not a scratch on him. Instead, he grabbed her by the throat and lifted her with one arm. She kicked and struggled, glowing brighter, but her strength meant nothing to him. The silver-eyed girl screamed and rushed in next, her palm flashing with blue energy. She touched his side. His armor sizzled, cracking slightly. He dropped the blue girl with a grunt and stepped back. His voice turned sharp. "You remember pain then?" The golden-skinned warrior tackled him with a roar, both of them crashing into the wall. Jace ran to the fallen blue girl, dragging her away. Her breathing was ragged, but she was alive. Barely. The silver-eyed one joined the fight, and together with the golden girl, they pushed the collector back. For the first time he stumbled. He raised his hand and unleashed a shockwave that shattered walls and sent the girls flying. Jace was thrown to the ground, the room spinning around him. When his vision cleared, he saw the collector walking toward the sleeping girl in the containment field. "She is the last piece," he said. "With her, the cycle begins again." Jace didn't think, he just acted. He pulled the emergency detonator from his belt and ran toward the field. The collector turned too late. Jace slammed his hand against the release switch, and the winged girl dropped into his arms. The field collapsed with a crackle of light. The collector roared, and the entire tower shook. Stone fell from above. Machines exploded with sparks. The silver-eyed girl stood up again, blood on her lip. "Get her out," she shouted to Jace. "But go," she screamed, her voice filled with something ancient and full of fire. Jace didn't argue. He carried the winged girl and ran. Behind him, the golden and silver-eyed girls unleashed everything they had. Lights flashed, energy rippled, and the collector howled like a dying star. Jace reached the ship, slammed the door, and started the engines. The blue girl staggered in behind him, wounded but alive. "Where are they?" she asked, coughing. "They're still inside," Jace said, staring at the tower. Then the tower exploded. A column of flame reached the sky, and the night turned red. "No," the blue girl whispered, tears on her cheeks. Jace dropped to his knees, the winged girl still unconscious in his arms. His heart pounded, his throat tight. "They gave their lives," he whispered, to stop him, but then, through the smoke, two figures walked out, burned, bleeding, but alive. The silver-eyed girl stumbled first, the golden one beside her. They looked up at the ship, and for the first time since waking smiled. Jace ran to them, speechless. They fell into his arms, exhausted and broken, but they were alive, and the collector was not, or so they believed. Deep beneath the moon's surface, a single metal finger twitched. The war wasn't over, not yet. The winged girl opened her eyes, and the stars blinked in response. Jace didn't understand it, but he felt that something had changed in the universe. She lay in the med bay, silent, her black wings curled tight around her body. Then, with a whisper barely louder than breath, she said, "He's still alive." Everyone froze. The silver-eyed girl rushed to her side, holding her trembling hand. "You saw him?" she asked, voice shaking. The winged one nodded. He's underground, healing, and he's angry." The golden warrior cursed and slammed her fist into the wall. "We didn't finish it," she growled. "We slowed him," said the blue-skinned. "One, but he's not done." Jay stood near the doorway, feeling the weight in his chest return. "How long do we have?" he asked. The winged girl looked up at him with tired, glowing eyes. "Days, maybe," she said, "but we're not." "Enough." Her voice was soft, but full of something ancient. "Then what do we do?" Jace asked. She turned to him and said something no one expected. "We wake the rest." The cargo hold lights flickered as if they heard her words. Jace followed them to the sleeping pods. 9 of them still glowed, untouched. He placed his hand on one and whispered, "We need you now." And one by one, the pods began to hiss and unlock. Steam rose around them, blue and white and cold. The first girl opened her eyes and gasped like she had surfaced from deep water. Another followed, and then another. Soon the room was filled with voices, confusion, and power. Each girl was different, one with skin like glass, another with hair made of light. All were beautiful. All were built for something more. And when they saw Jace, something in them softened. He wasn't just a rescuer now. He was something they needed: hope. The silver-eyed girl stepped forward and raised her hand. "We are together again," she said. "Our bond is whole. They will come for us." One girl whispered, "Let them." The golden one replied, fire in her eyes. Jace looked at the stars through the main screen. Then he saw it. A shadow moving across space. A black shape without heat, without light. The collector's ship had returned. "They found us," Jace said. The winged girl stepped to the window and spread her black wings. "We find them too," she said. "This ends now." Jace turned to the crew of awakened warriors. 12 alien girls once lost, now ready to fight again. They weren't his passengers anymore. They were his crew. He took the pilot's seat, fingers tightening around the controls. "Let's show them what 1 human and 12 forgotten legends can do," he said. The battle came fast like lightning. The collector's ship unleashed fire, but it didn't matter now. The glass-skinned girl absorbed the heat and redirected it. The girl with light for hair blinded the enemy sensors. The golden warrior ripped a hole through the ship's side with her bare hands. The silver-eyed one broke the control core from the inside, and Jace, with the winged girl at his side, crashed the final blow straight through the heart of the darkness. The collector screamed, not in pain, but in fury. His body broke apart, shadows scattering into the stars. But even as he vanished, he whispered something. "This is not the end." Then silence returned. Jace floated in the dark cockpit, breathing heavily. All around him, the girls stood bruised, burned, but victorious. No medals, no applause. Just stars and peace. He looked at them and smiled. "So," he said, "what now?" The silver-eyed girl stepped close and said gently, "Now we live." And far behind them, buried in stardust and broken steel, the galaxy finally exhaled. Because for the first time in 1,000 years, the forgotten protectors had returned, and 1 human had reminded them how to hope again.